Today, we're talking about trust. And the title, in fact, is Trust is Built in Drops and Lost in Buckets. And that's a quote actually from Kevin Plank, who's the founder of Under Armour. Built in drops and lost in buckets. Why does it matter? Why are we talking about trust? Because trust is today's new currency. And your business is either intentionally and mindfully building it and cultivating it and investing in it every day as a priority, or it is leaking it. It is ignoring it. It is abandoning it as a foregone conclusion. In fact, what if I told you that a recent study says that businesses believe, you ready for this? Business owners believe that 87% of their customers trust them. That's what they perceive as truth. 87% trust them. When in actuality, when their customers were surveyed in that same study, only 27% actually do trust you, them. That's a massive, massive gap and an opportunity. You see, if you can recognize the value of trust in your business with both your employees and your customers, it can be the single most differentiating thing you do this year and the next and the next. Think about it for a second. It's not exactly like our media companies fuel trust these days, right? It's not exactly like we trust institutions. Charlie Kirk said, we either trust institutions or we mistrust them. And the mistrust of institutions, education, healthcare, the businesses, capitalism, every system that's out there, pharmaceutical companies, government, every aspect of our life is up for grabs. And you either trust or mistrust. And the vast majority of the country mistrusts. And we've all been there. We've all been disappointed. We've all been let down. And I want you to think about this for a moment. Think about the last time you were let down. Someone did not keep their word. They were not in integrity with you. It happens more often than any of us would like to admit, and certainly business owners, as testified by that survey, those results that I gave you a moment ago. So I do have a few slides to share with you today. We're going to spend about 35 to 40 minutes together going through why does trust matter? What does it look like when it breaks down? And what does it look like when it is building you up and creating ambassadors for you when you're not in the room? And some practical tips I'm going to give you before we wrap today that very quickly you can effectively implement in your work, at home, and shift the current of trust. Trust is built in drops. Built in drops. In fact, I've got a slide in here somewhere. Warren Buffett said, it takes 20 years. It could take 20 years to build a lifetime of trust in your name and 5 minutes to lose it. So how can you sheer up your own trust account with your clients, as Stephen Covey says, the speed of trust? And are you making deposits in your trust account, or are you making debits in that account? And the debits, unfortunately, can stack up very, very quickly. And sometimes it does take longer to build up those deposits. And much of that we're going to see comes from the core premise of the golden rule. So I want to read something to you. And this is, in fact, from Stephen Covey's The Speed of Trust. The overarching principle is the intrinsic worth of individuals. The demonstrate respect principle, all important in building trust, to demonstrate respect, is based on the principles of respect, fairness, kindness, love, and civility. Boil it all down, it's called the Golden Rule. And the Golden Rule is recognized every culture, every religion worldwide. I'm going to read you a few quick examples. In Christianity, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. In Judaism, what you hate, do not do to anyone. Islam, no one of you is a believer until he loves for his brother what he loves for himself. Hinduism, do nothing to thy neighbor which thou wouldst not have him do to thee. Buddhism, hurt not others with that which pains thyself. Sikhism, treat others as you would be treated yourself. Confucianism, what you do not want done to yourself, do not do to others. Aristotle, we should behave to our friends as we wish our friends to behave to us. Plato, may I do to others as I would that they should do unto me. The opposite of demonstrating respect is to not respect other people. This is commonly experienced as showing disrespect. Huge issue, both at work and at home. So that's from the Speed of Trust. So I talk often about 10x your trust so that you can 10x your profits. And what I'm here to demonstrate to you directly is that the speed of trust, as Stephen Covey says, is equivalent to your speed of profits. Take away trust, you take away profits bit by bit. It could happen slowly over time without you even recognize it. It could happen very, very quickly. And there are many examples out there of companies that this has happened to. So I want to share a few of these screens, and I'm using StreamYard today. So we'll see. It's sometimes easier on Zoom, but we'll make it work. Okay, yes, here we go. Perfect. It worked. Don't you love it? So when we look at that gap of the 80% of business executives thinking their customers totally trust them when only 27% of them actually do, what that calls us to do as leaders, as business owners, is to say, okay, in what way can we cultivate? What way can we intentionally put this on our radar screen? There's an old story I used to tell about the gentleman who started Prudential. Ron, I'm losing his last name right now. Sorry about that. Canadian. And he ran Prudential Canada. And he sat down with his team week after week and said, what are we doing about June? June at the time was the worst month in the year for insurance. And he made June a priority. And of course, the first initial things that he got were, well, it is what it is, right? June's the worst month. Let's just live with it and let's work towards the fall. And he said, no, I want to know what we're doing about June. And every meeting that those leadership teams would come together, the first thing they would talk about, don't talk to me, he would say, about this or that, or these employees, or recruitment, or onboarding, or whatever it might be. Talk to me about what we're doing about June. And do you know, 18 months later, June was the #1 month for them. And within a few years, #1 month for the entire industry. Why? Because where attention goes, what? Energy flows. Where attention goes, energy flows. And that's one of the universal laws that we're going to talk about today too, which is the law of correspondence, which essentially says, as within is what is without, outside of me, as above, so below. The law of correspondence. Where your attention goes and what you see and believe and invest in is what is brought back to you tenfold is what my promise is. So trust is the new currency. And if you can focus like Prudential did with what are you doing about June? What are we doing about trust? What are we doing about it right now, right in this moment, right here, right now, today? And that's all the other things. I'm going to tell you something. If you are investing in trust, high trust companies, they grow faster. This is demonstrated. They grow faster. They retain talent longer. They impact their revenue. And I'm telling you that when I look at my clients, when we invest in trust, might not happen tomorrow, might not happen next month, but over time, 10x their profits. That's the kind of impact that we're talking about. So Alvin Toffler was one of the most world-renowned futurists. He was an editor for Fortune magazine. He dealt with presidents, and he was looked to, he died many years ago, but he was looked to as one of the foremost futurists on the planet. And he said, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So when we look at how trust, I started out today by saying it's built in drops. What does trust look like to you? When someone demonstrates trust, it's the callback. It's the return email in a timely way. It's clear pricing, on-time delivery. It's that email of encouragement. It's that little note of thank you so much, or a bonus check when it wasn't expected. It's an unexpected, and sometimes very small things, an unexpected thank you. Or in the case of Jack Welch saying, leaders also establish trust by giving credit where credit is due. They never score off their own people by stealing an idea and claiming it as their own. And I'm not proposing that you do this, but in what other ways might you steal trust? What other ways might you steal trust? What other ways can you build it? There is a leader who I've worked with for some time who stated that when we lean in, when we listen, when we're present, we build trust. Trust happens in those moments of presence. We're going to talk a little bit about presence as well. Being in the present moment, being curious, being open to unlearning and relearning anew, a new lens, a fresh lens every day. That's where those moments of trust can be built. So when we look at a business case, when we talk about the speed, the costs decreasing, loyalty and retention increasing, this is demonstrated proof and a business case for investing energy, time, and effort in building trust today. So that law of correspondence being the example, we can't very well ask of our employees what we're not prepared to do for ourselves and as ourselves, as the example. In what ways today can you be the example? In what ways can you set a tempo, a tone as the leader in your organization that trust is your X factor? It is that exponential ingredient that so few companies are investing in today. And if you can, if you do, when you do, you impact your profits to the degree of 10x. And I've seen it over and over and over and over again. One thing I want to encourage you as you talk with your teams is the difference between when you talk with them about building trust, talk about, rather than setting a goal, I want to share the difference between an intention and a goal. Rather than, and by the way, and this is, we're going to go into the details of that, but it does require you to be present in order to do this. And it changes everything. It removes stress, it removes mistakes and disconnection with presence, really being present and actively listening and paying attention, not being scattered in 10 different directions when you're with an employee, when you're with a customer. Set the cell phone down, turn the emails off, focus your attention and energy in the present moment, and have a meaningful dialogue and conversation with the person sitting beside you or across from you. With it, I promise that clarity and trust and renewed purpose is infused instantly, just like that. We're talking about telling the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. And I'm going to ask you at the end of today, and I want you to start thinking about it right now, one promise that today you can make to someone, personally or professionally. Make one promise today and deliver on it. Like, mindfully walk yourself through. So I want to talk with you about what is an intention. What is an intention? An intention, setting an intention versus creating a measurable goal. And there's room, there's a place and time for both, but intention will win every time. And here's what I mean. How often do we miss goals? All the time. But intention is much easier to realize, because intention is a state of being. It's focusing on being a particular way, not just doing something. Whereas a goal is very rigid. It's only outcome based. It's outcome obsessed, in fact. An intention is flexible. It's adaptable. Goals are very binary. You either met it or you didn't. So you got a 50-50 shot of screwing it up, right? Not intention. You can realize it 100% of the time. And even if, for example, you slip out of it because you've set an intention to be there and you put some cues. I always have it on a piece of paper, somewhere on my phone, on my laptop, on a Post-it, to keep me mindful, because we're very easily, especially today, with so much change and so much tugging at us, very easily to pull us out of our center, all right, and out of our intention. But give yourself some resources and support to have some visual cues to remind you, to bring you back in. An intention encourages mindful action, whereas a goal is all to do with, in my opinion, even if it's a year out, it's short-term thinking, because you're going to be in business for longer than a year, all right? But when was the last time someone really sat down in a performance review and said, here's your 3-year goal? Very rarely. So it's this intrinsic motivation that you're tapping into versus something that is binary, that is short term, and you're either going to fail or succeed at it. With an intention, you can realize sustainable growth and recognition. Goals can tend to neglect, because they're data driven, they will neglect the human side. There's no way not to. You can say, oh, well, I set a goal of losing 30 pounds. The problem with that, and how are we losing the human side in that? Again, aren't you happy if you lose 2 pounds? 4, 6, 8, right? Aren't you happiest, even more importantly, not the number and not the scale, but how you feel in your body, how you feel your chest opening up, your head and chin rising, your eyes to the horizon, because of confidence, intrinsic increase in confidence, because you are being and not doing. There's a huge difference. And as you be in that state of resourcefulness, of courage, of patience, of empathy, of kindness, of curiosity, whatever the state, the intention that you set for yourself, as you do that, you're already in your own resource, you see. And so the goals, the measurable milestones, much easier to realize. Much easier to realize. Does that make sense? I want to encourage you as you have these conversations with your team. This is a very powerful, powerful question. One of my mentors always reminds me that the answers are always in the questions. The answers are always in the questions. Better questions. Ask a better question. How can it be any better than this? How can our trust be better than it is today? How can it be any better than this? When you bang up against a wall, when a customer calls you out on the carpet because a deadline was missed, there's something not in alignment. There's something incongruent in your system that is a glitch that keeps hiccuping, and it's causing these problems. When you get there, rather than instantly go into action mode, which trust is demonstrated, yes, through action as well, built-in drops, executed in action, yes. But before you immediately go into action, can you pause? Can you simply pause for a moment and say, how can it be any better than this? And what that does is puts you in a place of receptivity, of receiving, that law of correspondence. Now, I want to read to you the law of correspondence so that I'm very specific about it. It's in the Hermetic teachings. This law says, as within, so without, as above, so below. Trust is a correspondence principle. Now, trust is woven through many, many universal principles. Like gravity is a universal principle, okay? I pick up an apple today and it doesn't sometimes decide to float in the air. A principle on planet Earth is, it says that the apple, if I let it fall, will drop all the time, every time, without exception. That's a principle. So the law of correspondence, it's a law. You're not getting around it. It is here on this planet. It is here for this life. It is here in your business. It is at your home. It is with every single relationship you have with employees, customers, partners, spouses, children, friends, family, neighbors, all of it. Community. Law of correspondence. Trust is a correspondence principle. When you cultivate inner trust, so that's the as within, so without, as above, so below. When you cultivate inner trust, and I always say leadership is an inside job, your outer reality must, universal law, must reflect back to you that trust through harmony in your business, through opportunities, through support showing up, through resources. And conversely, a lack of trust, as within, so without, a lack of trust creates outer chaos or distrust mirrored back to you. There's no getting around it, folks. So another one, a law of resonance. Now, when you resonate with someone, when you vibe, when you have a good resonance in your culture, everybody knows it. It's unmistakable, right? When you have a toxic culture, when you have a lot of mistrust, I don't know whether people will label it as a mistrust, but they might say, well, I don't trust him. I'm worried about, I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. I get hit in the back of the head. I get surprises all the time. I can't count on them to fill in the blank. That's what it will sound like. And a law of resonance means that it's like when you walk into a room and you know there's been a huge argument just before you walked in that room. huge argument, you can feel it. You could cut the air with a knife. You feel it, right? That's resonance at some level, or dissonance in this case. When it's, ooh, icky, yuck, like, ooh, I think I better leave. Like no words are being exchanged, but you can feel the heat, literally maybe, and metaphorically in the room, sweat on someone's brow, who knows? But the converse of dissonance is resonance. And here's what the law of resonance says. Trust has an energy. It has a frequency like everything else on planet Earth. And when you hold genuine trust, not just wishful thinking, but when you are congruent with it, you believe it, it's in your cells, it's part of your mantra, it is on your radar screen. Trust is important to me. How must I cultivate it? But just by you asking the question, you are in more trust. When you hold genuine trust, you resonate with stability, openness, and abundance, prosperity. Others sense it and they respond in kind. Mistrust, by contrast, repels and contracts. You can feel yourself get smaller when you're in a room of mistrust. Okay. And oftentimes people, as I used that example earlier, they'll walk into a room, they'll just excuse themselves from the room because they can't take it. It's such a heaviness in the room. They want nothing of it. But when a room is buoyant, it's light, there's laughter, there's smiles on people's faces. I feel like it's I trust that it's a safe space to walk into. Right? So, in essence, the universal law around trust, if we summarized it, could be said, and I'll share this with this last couple of slides. What you trust in, you invite more of. Let me say that again, and I really want you to take this in. What you trust in, you invite more of. I can also conversely say what you mistrust in, so too do you invite more of. It's the wolf you feed, friends. It's the wolf you feed. So will you feed the wolf of trust in your business? I've put a QR code on the screen there, by the way, just so that you have immediate access to me should you want to talk more about what trust can look like for your business, for profits, for saving of time, energy, and effort, and fueling your profitability, your prosperity in your business. If you scan that QR code, that takes you right to my calendar and an automatic conversation of 20 minutes with me specifically about your business. And by the way, I research every business before I meet with you. I take a look at what is their internal trust factor, and how do I know that without ever having met you? There are ways in which to measure it. Certainly online employee reviews. What do people who've worked for you, what do they have to say firsthand? Do you have testimonials? What does your LinkedIn look like? Is it congruent? So your online digital blueprint tells me a lot about your DNA and both culturally and you as a leader. Do people trust you? Are you cultivating trust? Are you emanating? Are the ripple effects of trust spreading out across your customer bases, no matter what markets you serve? Is that rippling out? And by the way, it won't ripple with customers if it's not rippling with your employees, because it is an inside job first from you to your culture, your office, virtual or in person, your teams, how you are leading. How you are living your life is how you're leading. And how you are leading is your team. And how your team is your customer experience. You see, they all are integrated. There isn't one, you can't isolate one from the other. It's not possible. So I take a look at that blueprint. What does it look like? Is it congruent? Are there gaps? Okay. You may think, oh, I have all the trust in the world from our customers. Our customers trust us. My employees trust me. Really? Are you maybe in some areas, maybe not all, but in some areas, are you, as I started this show out today by stating that 87% of business owners think that their customers trust them, when in reality, only 27% do. It's about a 60-point gap there, folks. And that the telltale sign of a true leader for this next decade is, can you learn anew? Can you get curious? What's your curiosity factor? Are you asking yourself new questions, better questions? Are you opening to the possibility that you may not have all of the answers and that you may have a misperception about trust? That a gap could exist. Maybe it's not 60 points, but what if it's 30? That's still significant and a missed opportunity, you see. So my question to you is, in what way can it be any better than this? It's like that slide. How can it be any better than this? And if you're not waking up in the morning and asking yourself, what ways am I going to cultivate more trust today? You're missing the largest opportunity that exists today for business, for you as an individual and a leader of that organization, and for your company and for your teams, for your everyone loses, frankly. It's that old adage of, a rising tide lifts all boats. Well, imagine the rising tide of trust and what it can do for you. It's that story that I shared earlier about Prudential. Where your attention goes, energy flows. And if it's not growing, it's dying. Those are the only two polarities. We live in a binary world in the sense that we have growth or we have death. And if you're standing still because you're stuck, that's a slow death. If you're standing still, treading water because you're uncertain, ask yourself a better question. And just by asking yourself the better question, how can it be better than this? You're instantly unstuck. It's instantaneous. You've asked the question, you've put your cells in motion, you've put your brain in motion, you've asked your brain a new question, and it cannot ignore it. Your brain cannot ignore a question, even a silly one. And yeah, they say there's no stupid question. I don't agree with that. Do some thinking on your own. Do some feeling, even more importantly, on your own. And that's what that mindful leader, that last slide that I showed, the mindful leader that I have is all about cultivating trust and mindfulness, which is, what is mindfulness? What is it? It's presence. It's presence. It's a recognition that I am here now and nothing else matters. Not the future, not 2 hours from now, not 2 months from now, 2 years. And I'll tell you from my own personal experience and where I have been at my journey, I have to pull myself back into the present moment. I have to recenter myself. I went yesterday to a beautiful park that's nearby. There's just a dear friend of mine lost her sister at 51 years old. The sadness that our country has experienced, period, over the last week, or the bulk of our country has experienced in the past week, all of it, it just, it got too much. And I thought, you know what, I have to recenter. And because I could feel myself getting pulled out of my own resourcefulness. And I'm normally a very light, energized person. That's kind of my norm. So when I am cynical, if I slip into cynicism, if I slip into any kind of negativity for any length of time, I mean, we all go there, we're human, but for any length of time, and when, for me, if I'm there for, more than a few minutes, that's not my norm. So I had been in it for a couple of days. So I knew that is not my norm. That's not the essence of Angela. And so I recognized it. I said, this isn't good enough. This is what I'm asking you to do about trust in your business. It's not good enough where it's at. Iterations. Build it in drops, or you're going to lose it by the bucket. Build it in drops, or you're going to lose it by the bucket. And know how to reestablish it. Because from time to time, that human factor does come into play, and you will lose it. You'll lose it maybe a little bit, maybe a lot. But almost every situation is rebuildable. It's rebuildable. You make a new decision. You make a commitment. You say, this matters to me. So I go to this, I made a commitment to myself. This matters to me. I want to be in trust and present and positive and resourceful. And I want to remember who I am, which at my core is, same for all of us, at my core is love, is hope, is faith, is trust. And when I'm out of that, I'm less effective. I'm less joyous. I'm less resourceful. I'm less impactful in the way that I would like to be helpful. Certainly less compassionate. I mean, less in every positive thing and every worthy thing and every valuable way. I'm less. So I went to the park. Nature always does it for me. It could do it for you too. Nature always does it for me. I went to the park and I was there for over an hour, I think, with a breeze on my face, listening to the water, watching the trees, listening to the leaves, smelling the air, hearing the birds. And I was me again. I was all of me again. You never lose you entirely, but I put so many layers of so much other gunk on top of me that I was weighted. Darkness is only ever the absence of light. Darkness doesn't exist. It's simply a function of a lack of something else. So where there is weight, where there is darkness, it's because the absence of light. So how do you feel your light? And how do you feel your trust, which trust is where the light is? There are lots of ways to do it. And the way you demonstrate it, you must do it for yourself first. Take yourself into nature, get quiet, get still, recenter. If you love golf, get on the golf course. If you love music, play your favorite piece of music. If you just want to pet your dog, it can happen in a second. It took me about an hour yesterday. Well, I shouldn't say that. It took me a few minutes, the long enough time to get to the park. Once I was at the park, I saw someone and they said, hello. And I said, well, good afternoon. What a perfect day. I will talk with anybody. It's just who I am. And so we just said a friendly hello. And she said, absolutely. And she said, soak it in. I said, I intend to. And I walked over and I sat on a bench and I felt the best that I had felt. Just like that, I felt the best that I had felt in days. So find your path to you first. Get in that alignment, get in that congruence first. And when you're in that space, when you're in that alignment, you are in alignment with trust, with your inner compass, your inner trust. Once you do that, then say, okay, in what ways, what promise, start with one. What promise can I make today to someone else? And how will I deliver on it? And deliver on it today. Don't make the promise today and say, I'll deliver on it a week from now. Make a promise that you can actually deliver on today before the end of the day. and check it off when you deliver on that promise, and maybe over deliver. Why not? Make it a simple enough promise that you can over deliver, right? It's a great feeling when you know you've gone above and beyond. And I guarantee you the other person feels it too. What's the old saying? They'll never remember what you told them, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And I can go back to one of the slides here where it says, send that email of encouragement, of bravo, of congratulations. Give someone some recognition that's unexpected. Say thank you when maybe you don't think you need to, or people would say that you went above and beyond simply by saying thank you, or making a point to go to someone's desk or pick up the phone and call them versus a text. Instead of texting, call. I'm going to do that with someone today. I texted or I emailed yesterday. I really just need to make the call. I'm going to do that today. That's my promise. I'm going to make the call. And it's kind of a tough call to have. It's not like on a scale of 1 to 10, a 10 call, a 10 tough call. It's maybe a 2 or a 3, but it's tougher than normal, and so I'm going to make that call. That's my promise today, and I know I can deliver on it. It's 12:41 Eastern. I know I can deliver on that today. And actually, what I'm going to say is, even though it's a tough conversation, I'm going to make sure to go above and beyond to thank this individual for being so responsive and timely with her efforts for me, by sending the talent that she sent. Even though some aspects of it fell short, other aspects were really, truly wonderful. And I'm going to make sure to lead with that. I'm going to make sure that I lead with all of the wonderful, positive things that I felt and experienced as a result of what she delivered. And then I'll say, how can it be any better than this? The trust X factor question. How can it be better than this? That's, to me, the single most important question you can ask yourself every single day. And I only learned that question maybe a month ago from one of my mentors. It was something new, and I've known her for years. And she asked me, well, how can it be any better than this? And she said, are you asking yourself that? Every time you bump into a speed bump, every time you encounter a wall, are you, because you see, it's this softening, it's this surrendering, it's the inside job stuff that I'm talking about. Trust does show up in actions, the email, the thank you, the delivering on a deadline, the doing what you say you're going to do. It does show up in those actions, but it can't show up in those actions without first being seeds within you that you've cultivated, you see. So, first step, recognize that the curiosity, the learning, and the relearning. What did that slide say? The illiterate of the 21st century are those people who think that not that they can't read and write, but they don't know how to learn. They're never asking themselves a new question. And as a consultant, all of these years, 20 plus years at this point, I think my finest role and my most important role for you as a business owner is to ask you the better question. To have a perspective you can't possibly have because you're inside the bottle. And what I am emphatically conveying and sharing with you is to ask you to come into your own inner alignment around trust, so that then you can 10x deliver it to your employees and customers, and they can 10x deliver it to the next and the next. And the impact of that is 10x on your bottom line. I should say your top line, 10x on your top line. Trust is the new currency. And if you're not building it, you're ignoring it and assuming it's there. And if I've told you once now, this is my third or fourth or fifth time telling you that there is a massive gap. The question is, what percentage of that gap exists for you and your business? And the final X factor question, how can it be better than it is right now? And it begins with you, the leader. So I'm going to add that QR code once again to the screen. You can take a shot of it with your mobile phone and it'll take you right to my calendar. Schedule the conversation. Trust is built in drops, and this is one of the drops. This is the beginning. Let's have a conversation where you are open, you are curious, and you're available to the new question. How can it be any better than this? And then hold my hand metaphorically to allow me to take you there. Allow me to guide you there. And I won't ask anything of you that I have not already done for myself and other clients or am prepared to do and learn with you. That's immensely valuable. How many mentors do you have? I have multiple. How many do you have? How many do you have as confidants that you can share in a vulnerable way where your trust factor is at right now? With yourself, in your relationships, with your partners, with your employees and customers. Okay, so thank you so much to everyone joining today. Every week I come here. This week I promoted it a little differently and I've spent longer, and I knew I was going to spend about 45 minutes and we're at about 46 right now. Usually I'm at around 30 minutes and then some smaller clips from there. I wanted to take the time today to really go through this because it is singularly the most important thing you can do for yourself and your business is 10x your trust. Trust, that's what it says on the bottom of my screen. You see it? Trust moves markets. It moves hearts and it moves markets. Yeah. All right. Visit me at angelamoonin.com. I'll put that on the screen real quick. There's my website. You can access my calendar through that QR code, and we will see you next Wednesday at noon live. And as we continue this conversation around trust, I'm curious to hear, what promise did you make and keep? Bye for now. God bless.